April 24, 1915, Ottoman Turkish authorities began an organised, calculated and malicious attempt to exterminate the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek minorities living in the Ottoman Empire. This marked the onset of the first genocide of the 20th century, which saw the systematic murder of 1.5 million Armenians and over 1 million Assyrians and Greeks. What followed were state-sanctioned indiscriminate acts of violence, a murderous series of deportations, death marches and large-scale massacres with the purpose to end the collective existence of the Anatolia's Christian minorities. With few survivors remaining to tell the story of the Armenian people's plight, the only thing that remains are fragmented narratives whispered from generation to generation.
Each of the stories muttered from the survivors and victims' traumatized recollections draw an echo to a similar foundational ideology sown by hatred, hostility and loathing. This is the ideology of Pan-Turkism, commonly referred to as Pan-Turkism, a nationalist movement that breeds violent intolerance to ensure the culturally and politically pure union of all Turkic people. In its personified form, Pan-Turkism eradicates the very existence of the Armenian identity, language, culture, history, and tradition that culminates into who we are. Recognition of such crimes against humanity, most particularly the Armenian Genocide, is the only way to prevent such crimes from reoccurring. It is the duty of our global community to learn from the lessons of the past, to protect us from falling into similar horrors.
Horrors that were tellingly relived in 2020, not recognising the past's harrowing realities leaves room for humankind's most atrocious perpetrators to continue pursuing heinous crimes against humanity. 106 years on, the ideology of Pan-Turkism that motivated the efforts of the Armenian Genocide resurfaced.
Azerbaijani authorities, they implemented a policy of ethnic cleansing, and this was also genocidal policy towards the population of Artsakh, and not only Artsakh but also population of Armenia.
7 o'clock in the morning, the entire country, capital Stepanakert was one of the most important targets. This war is actually the result of the plans, criminal plans and visions of Turkey, combined visions of Turkey, Azerbaijan and international terrorists.
Between September and November 2020, Armenians were once again forcibly removed from their ancestral homes when the neo-Ottoman leaders of Turkey and Azerbaijan, motivated by the expansionist dreams of their forebearers, launched another attempt to ethnically cleanse the indigenous Armenians of the Republic of Artsakh, a self-determined state in the region known as Nagorno-Karabakh.
The Azerbaijani offensive began with revelations of Aliyev dictatorship's deployment of Turkish-funded Islamist terrorist mercenaries from Syria to participate in the attacks on the Armenians of Artsakh. This has been a well-documented fact, with the authenticity of the information being confirmed by European, Armenian and Russian authorities.
Very wide use of terrorists and mercenaries hired from northern parts of Syria, from Libya, from Afghanistan, etc. And I have even to say that there are even 2 criminals right now in Armenia who were arrested and taken during the war.
With the assistance of modern warfare, Azerbaijan committed countless human rights violations that constitute war crimes, including the use of cluster munitions against civilian targets and infrastructure, the use of white phosphorus bombs, and the publication of prisoner of war executions.
The abuses are almost in every sphere. They used, for example, forbidden weaponry. They targeted civilian objects. They destroyed schools. They destroyed hospitals. They were killing prisoners of war. For example, there are some data which should be, of course, proved. This is why we always say that international organizations must have access to our prisoners of war, that the Azeri and Turkish side are selling the organs of our prisoners of war and hostages. This is why Azerbaijan does not publish the exact number of hostages. It denies, but we know that there are a lot of such people. This is why we call upon the international community to go and to fix and try to somehow, influence the behavior of Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijani forces unleashed suicide drones, tanks, and long-range artillery, breaching the agreements of the non-use of force under which the OSCE Minsk group co-chairs had been negotiating the peace process. And the result of their actions? Silence from the international community. The occupation of over 70% of Armenia's homeland in Nagorno-Karabakh, the death of over 5,000 soldiers.
The Azerbaijani authorities try to keep away all legal instances, and they create all the time obstacles for many international organizations through many political, steps in, and they act here in close cooperation also with Turkish authorities, I have to say.
The international community was very passive after 1915 genocide. There was no response on a political level as something, international, as an international institution. This is why there was a domino effect. Now we have the same situation, and very few countries condemn such kind of genocide. This means that we may think, and we could be sure that that genocide would continue in other places too.
Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh now find themselves displaced from the homes that their families had inhabited for a millennia, once again seeking refuge in a foreign land that are not their own.
We have about 100,000 internally displaced persons, more than 100,000, and 40,000 out of them left without their home. As a result of the war, they created the humanitarian crisis. I have to say that as a result of the war, we had 30,000 children who were deprived of education, and 20 generally, and internally displaced, and 24,000 out of them are children who remained out of the possibilities of any schools.
Armed by the impunity afforded by their Ottoman Empire predecessors, the modern-day leaders of Turkey and Azerbaijan are one step closer to finishing what those before them had begun: to remove the only Christian nation standing in the way of a greater Turkish nation.
Artsakh is still alive. Well, we are wounded. We are severely wounded. But we are still alive. And we are resolute to continue this path, this mission, especially now when so many people perished, when each adult, each normal person, adult person, is somehow ashamed of being alive, when there are so many young people in our soil. You see, it's a mission which we have to carry out. We don't have any other alternative.
Azerbaijan directly attacked cultural and religious Armenian sites in Artsakh, underpinning their intent to complete indigenous Armenians' erasure from the region. Destruction was deployed through physical means and also involved cultural reappropriation of Armenian history, calling the land indigenous to the Christian Albanians from the Caucasus, not the Armenians.
They're just destroying everything. And what is more, Azerbaijani president himself gives appropriate commands. For example, he said that these medieval Armenian churches and the inscriptions are fake. The Armenians carved these inscriptions 2 weeks ago. Go and destroy it. So what they want to do is just to erase everything which indicates that this or that settlement of territory is historically Armenian land.
Azerbaijani occupation of Artsakh continues to erode the very culture of the Armenian people. This state-sanctioned desecration of Armenian religious institutions, historical memorials, works of art, graves and religious monuments are the continuation of the actions undertaken by their Turkic brothers over 100 years ago. Before the Armenian Genocide of 1915, Armenia had listed 2,549 religious sites under its control, including more than 200 monasteries and 1,600 churches. Foreshadowing the harrowing events of 2020, less than half these sites exist in varying condition.
Armenophobia and spreading hatred is being carried out. And this policy is well grounded. It has institutional grounds, and it is based on hatred, based on ethnic and also religious components, religious grounds. And this is a clear genocidal policy.
What happened in 1915 and what is happening now are perverse violations of human rights that continue to go unpunished. When Armenians ask for empathy, why do they receive apathy? Today, more than 10 million Armenians live in exile, unable to return to the lands and mountains that their ancestors had inhabited for thousands of years. The Armenian Australian community is still waiting for the promise of justice and recognition to be delivered. We will do what we can, when we can, to ensure that our voices are heard, to represent those who are not being listened to.
Despite adversity, Armenians continue to rise, they continue to fight, and they continue to stand tall. We fight for our survival. That is all that we have done and all that we will continue to do. We fight to see a better tomorrow, despite the work of those who wish to make today our last. The world will not silence us, as we have felt before, because now, more than ever, we face the same existential threat that wished for our extermination not too long ago.
May we continue to remember the past, to ensure that it is not repeated in the future.
We pay our respects to those who sacrificed their lives to ensure that Armenians can continue to live and breathe to see a better tomorrow.
We must remember to speak loud, to remind all Armenians that their stories will never be forgotten. They will continue to be passed from generation to generation. But this time, their narratives will not be relinquished in fragments or whispers. They will be louder than ever before to ensure that justice is delivered where justice is deserved. We must keep fighting. There is so much more left to do, not for ourselves, but for our children and their children, so that they can also grow tall with the pride of their ancestors sitting on their shoulders, reminding them that they always are and always will remain Armenian.